Laws and allowances. Walking within 1 meter of the shore. Traveling roads reserved for residents, not private property. You'll see some signs that say, this road for residents only. If you need to go there to access that water, you are allowed to do so. You cannot block traffic. You cannot hinder traffic. You cannot use people's private parking areas. Okay? Ready to use fishing gear. This means carrying a rod in hand versus transporting a rod in a backpack. Typically, if I have that rod in my hand and it's got the hook or whatever on it, and I've got my gear in the other hand and I'm walking from point A to point B and I'm crossing other waters or whatever to get to there, that could be deemed as a intent to poach. Normally the way to do this is there are rod holders, sort of like a gun case, a rifle case if you will. The rod stays in the rifle case. You carry it to the location. Once you're at your spot, then you open it, you take the rod out and prepare it for fishing. Okay? You can only have 2 rods at a time out on the water. That means I cannot have a third rod prepped and ready leaning against a tree or something, because that shows intent to possibly use a rod number 3. The only exception to this would be a spod rod, which most people don't use anyway unless you're professionally fishing for cyprinids. So, okay, just don't do it. Okay? So, it covers that. Supervised fishing of minors, we'll get more into that later. We've already discussed disposal of fish guts, or what they call resmul. Water and game wardens. A water or game warden may check your items, license anything without any needed probable cause. Okay? Just like a game warden in the States, they can walk up, hey, how's the fishing? Can I see your license? Do not question their rights to ask or act. Otherwise, you could then be considered hindering or obstructing, and that's a crime. Always be respectful. If you're not, you can suffer the consequences. Not being respectful to someone who is considered a individual of the law, polizei or otherwise, it can be calculated as a crime. Normally they will have an ID of verifying whom they are, or they may even be in a uniform of some sort. Normally when they come up, they will show you their identification. Okay? And if you're a tourist and you're tourist fishing, they're going to approach you in German. They're going to approach you in German. They're going to approach you and they're going to speak in German, at which point you may politely go, excuse me, my German's not that good, or ich nicht sprechen Deutsch. Who are you? Okay. And then, of course, they will react accordingly after that, understanding now you may not understand them speaking German. Many of them do speak English. If they need to, they will have you wait there and they will call someone in who can speak English. Or they may even use their phone and just have a translator. Okay? Don't panic. They're just doing their job. Violations and consequences. If you do any of these things, you could face up to a 5,000 euro fine and 3 years in prison. Okay, your gear can be your license and all can be confiscated. Even your transport can be towed, depending on the crime. All right, they don't mess around here. They take their fishing and their hunting seriously. So do yourself a world of good, avoid a world of hurt, and simply follow the laws. It's really easy. Really is. Improperly landing or killing a fish. This means land improperly. If you lift the fish out with just on the line with the rod, you see a lot of people do that in the States. A little panfish, I left him out. You're causing undue damage to that fish's lips and stress. He's supposed to be landed with a net. That is improper landing. Improperly killing a fish. Pulling the fish out and just like cutting through the back spine like we do with a lot of fish in the States. No, you must stun the fish, you must heart bleed the fish, then you can finish whatever you need to do. Driving in unmarked private fields. Even in the winter, they will till their fields and in some cases plant winter crops. It may look like grass to you, but that could be wheat, rye, or anything growing in there. And you're driving across these private fields, you're going to face a world of hurt and fines. Okay? Trespassing on private properties. Anybody should understand what no trespassing means. We covered this. Carrying rods and gears in such a fashion as seen ready for immediate use. Possible intent for poaching. Keeping undersized fish. Releasing fish without cause. Keeping fish that are caught out of season. Use of illegal gear, such as stringers. Highly forbidden. You will face serious boo-boos if you try to use a stringer in Germany. Fishing without a license or water permit. You may have a license, but if it is not on you, you don't have a license. Fishing, and I know that's misspelled, fishing outside of permit designated zones or hours. A lot of water permits will say you can fish from this time to this time. They can vary upon the state and the locale. The normal Bavarian, the normal rule, which can be exceeded, is fishing 1 hour before official sunrise and stop fishing 1 hour after official sunset. There are places that do allow all-night fishing and so on, but they have fulfilled special regulations and such to allow people to do that. That means that rod should not be in the water until 1 hour before official sunrise on that day. And that rod and everything must be out of the water no later than 1 hour after official sunset. The Bavarian law state, children under 10 may be taken fishing when they are accompanied by an adult an adult fishing license holder. The adult is considered as the fisherman within the meaning of the law. The adult must also have the required fishing license, water permits, and have legal authority over the child. If that child is not yours, if you are not the legal guardian and have the documents to show it, you better have a temporary power of attorney giving you supervision of that child out of the view of the parents. This means children under 10 years old may not fish independently, but only with a licensed fisherman. The adult angler may still only use 2 fishing rods at the same time. It basically means you can technically have 2 children, but they got to be right there next to each other. You have to be close enough to take the adult must intervene immediately and directly as soon as a situation requires. So you cannot go walking off somewhere and leave them to fish on their own. They are not licensed fishermen. Okay? So technically they could fish until they're 12 years old. Because once they turn 12, they can then take the young or the youth fishing course and or even a regular fishing once they reach 14. Some of these laws may change over time. It's always better to ask. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. Unlicensed juveniles may not unhook a fish, measure, stun, or kill the fish. They may not release any fish requiring such. They can bait hooks. They can cast it. They can hook and reel the fish in, and under the direct assistance of the licensed adult, land and net the fish, but not remove it from the water. In other words, You could have them scoop the fish into the net, but they cannot pull that fish out of the water. Once that fish is in the net, everything else must be handled by the licensed fisherman, removing it from the water, measuring it, sexing it, if necessary, stunning it, killing it, all of that. A youth cannot even unhook the fish. It has to be done by the adult. So, back to the whole point here, obtaining your license again. To obtain the German, request must take the following items to the city or county local Rasthaus license issuing office. In short, you cannot go to Walmart or the local fishing shop and pay for your fishing license. Their Germans are very bureaucratic. Each town in their Rathaus, or what we call City Hall, has an office specifically for fishing, hunting licenses, and so on. Okay? If you are a tourist, you still have to have everything except the AE form. Okay? Because you're not military or whatever. You just come over. You're going to be in Germany for a month. You want to do some fishing. You bring your currently active state fishing license. You bring your passport. Okay? You must have two official passport-sized photos, and they only take payment in euro, not debit credit cards or anything. Okay? No travel certificates or bank certificates or anything like that. Cash in hand only. They got a machine, you feed the stuff into it, it sucks the money up, it gives you the receipt, you take it to the office, they mark that it's been paid. Alright? That's it. If you are taking the outdoor recreational class, you need two other items, which is you must get your AE Form 215 145B, okay, in duplicate, signed by the commander or supervisor, and stating that the person is properly that you're basically, it says you're part of that organization, and you are of legal age, and that you're under status of forces agreement. You will then take that with your certificate of examination, which is the certificate that you get for passing the fishing course. Okay. You will then take this with your two passport, your euro, your two passport pictures, your euro, your passport. Sometimes they will accept a military ID. And then you will go down and do the same procedure. Go to the office, give them your paperwork. Boom, boom, stamp, stamp, staple, staple, pay, pay, and you're done. You want to go fishing, have the gear in your car, drive to the local tackle shop, buy your water permit, and hit the water. That simple. An angler must obtain, in addition to a fishing license, a written permit specifically authorizing fishing in a given body of water. It sounds technical, it's not. The local rod and gun club, hunting or fishing office, water rights owners, or leaseholders issue these permits on daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly basis. Alright, basically again, go to the local tackle shop, say I want to go fishing for this kind of a fish. They will say, we have these waters available. It costs this much per day or per weekend or whatever. You pay it, stamp your water permit. They give it to you. You're ready to go fishing in that designated area. When you are fishing, you must carry that permit and your fishing license. Okay? The permit that you have will give the name and location of the water. It will have the signature of the water right or leaseholder's name. It'll have your name, your address, the date and length of the permit. It will show what fish you can catch, the opening and closing seasons for the fish, if you can have an open fire, what lines you need to use. All of this is right there. Basically, it's the rules of the water. Okay? You got to have those two pieces on you with your other gear, your knife, your measuring thing, and your baton, and so on. Permit holders are requested to keep an accurate record of the number, species, and weight of game fish removed from a body of water. This information should be entered on the permit or in a catch report book, which must be returned to the issuing authority after a fishing trip on expiration of the permit. In other words, this water permit on the other side will typically have, you can keep 2 predatory fish and 1 non-predatory fish, or 1 predatory fish and 1 non-whatever. It'll tell you. It will list the opening and closing seasons of the fish species on the water, and then it will give you little slots to be able to fill in that you caught this kind of fish at this length and mark it off, and that is your creel limit. You cannot have more in that. You cannot have more in your ice chest or anything than is on that limit. Okay? Plain and simple. Germany, they measure a fish differently. Basically, you go along the lateral line, which is from here straight across to the tip. And instead of measuring to where the tail splays, you pull it together and it gives you a little bit more length. And you measure it that way. If you measure it this way and that fish is too small, it must go back in. If the fish is of the appropriate length, it cannot go back in. You must take and stun it, kill it, and keep it, and it goes into your creel record. You cannot put it into a live well hoping to catch a bigger fish and then release the smaller one. The fish must be immediately killed after being measured and concluded that it is not a release size, out of season, or whatever fish. All right? Do not keep any live fish in a live well, in a bucket, or anything else. That is inhumane treatment, and that can be up to a 3-year prison sentence. They do not mess with the laws here, okay? Closed season. A closed season has been established for most common game fish species to conserve and protect the fish population by allowing the fish to spawn uninterrupted. Catching these species is forbidden during closed seasons. If you do accidentally catch one, you must release it. You cannot be using baits or tackle that would be used for catching that species of fish while they're in closed season. Okay? Just don't do it. Your daily permit will note which fish are open on which days and times. Fishing no-goes. Again, fishing without a license and permit. Catching fish during closed seasons. Taking undersized fish. Fishing beyond the boundaries specified by the permit. Catching fish with spears, electric rods, iron-pointed instruments, chemicals, dynamites, or poisons. Okay? No spear fishing. No bow fishing. Attracting fish by an illuminated devices. In other words, you don't go hanging lanterns and stuff off at the edge of the water in order to attract the insects and so on to pull the fish in, if you're allowed to fish at night on those waters. Okay? If you have a lamp up at your camp or whatever, that's a total different thing. Trespassing through buildings, yards, gardens, forest cultures, tilled fields, industrial plants or plans, and fenced-in areas. Restrictions on night fishing released by the local fishing authority or Landratsamt. Okay, in other words, only fish in the designated fishing hours given to you. Some will allow night fishing, others do not. Again, not properly killing the fish. That's a big one. Catching and keeping undersized fish, which is the same as taking undersized fish. Things to remember. Anglers are reminded that the following rules apply in Germany. Fish cannot be returned to the water unless they are undersized or caught during closed season accidentally. You cannot be fishing for a fish in closed season and then going, well, it's in closed season so I can let it go. No, you cannot be fishing for that fish at all. Caught fish that are kept must be killed immediately. Caught fish must be put to good use, for example, as food for humans and as animal fodder. Do not kill a fish and then throw it off into the woods or something. Okay, we covered that. That's the same as leaving refuse, as well as it is highly, highly illegal. Closed seasons apply to lakes and rivers. It's not one or the other. Fishing rights holders cannot ease or lower fishing laws, but may further restrict them. In other words, they can determine what main spool line type that you use, what leader type that you use, what baits may or not be used on their water. All of this is covered by the fishing permit. So don't do anything until you know what you're dealing with and you buy that permit. Active duty U.S. military personnel and their family members do need a license to fish in U.S. Army training areas in Germany. The waters are leased to us from the Germans. They fall under the same German standards, under the same German laws. All right. You want to fish on a military base, you have your German fishing license. Your American fishing license does not count. You go to the outdoor rec, and like if I'm up in Grafenwehr or Hohenfels, I go to the wild boar or whatever, and I can get my either daily, weekend, or annual permit. Don't be fishing without them. Again, items required that you must have with you at all times. A knife to kill the fish, a baton to stun the fish, properly sized landing net for the fish in question, a measuring tape, you got to measure the fish to make sure it's long enough, a fish weight to document the fish's weight if it's being kept, proper unhooking tools for the species. This way you do not do excessive damage to the fish if it is to be released. Your fishing license, a legal photo ID. For tourists, it's normally a passport. For military, it could be your military ID, but remember, a military ID is not a travel document. Proper water access permit, your water or fishing permit, and a creel record, usually on the water permit. And that's it, people. Okay, it seems like a lot, but when it's really condensed down, most of it is just really, really simple, common knowledge. Once you understand it, I've been fishing throughout all of Europe since 1992, and it's now 2026. And I have never had many of a problem with anything. The only thing is you always have to know if you're going to a different country, you just got to check up on those laws. And normally the local tourist administration will help you with that. All right? So, good fishing, tight lines, P3 Heil, and if you come to Germany fishing, pop me a message. Maybe if I have the time, I can go out with you. More than love to. Take care.